Welcome to Doctor on Call with your host, Doc Griffin. The doctor will be with you momentarily. Our guest this evening is YouTube social commentator, Lo-Fi, or as I like to call her, Waifu. Warning, prolonged erections greater than 4 hours and priapism has been reported while listening to Doctor on Call. In the event of an erection that persists longer than 4 hours, the listener should seek immediate medical assistance or find a partner who sees nothing wrong with a lot of bump and grind. Doc Griffin, paging Doc Griffin. You're needed in the OR.
And thank you, Nurse Tyro. And thanks to everybody who's come out tonight. Before we jump into any of the prognosis, I just wanted to give a nice heartfelt thanks to all of those who showed up to my birthday party yesterday, my drunken karaoke bash. A lot of good fun, a lot of good singers, and a lot of people got me very, very close to the goal of getting down to Knoxville. It's still Knoxville or bust, so thanks everybody for helping out with that. And our guest this evening, there's a lot that can be said, but I think it should mostly be said by her. So we're going to jump right into the diagnosis before we get to the prognosis. We're going to check the symptoms before we check out. And I would like to welcome to the show, Lo-Fi.
Thanks for having me.
And I appreciate you being on as well. We've had a couple of interesting conversations behind the scenes. And I will say honestly, you're a fascinating person that I really did want to see on here. And, thank God that North America is so plugged in to doing Christmases that we can talk to somebody around the world who's already had it done over with. And we can sit down and have a discussion. Now, I normally always start off with growing up. Now, you are, or were you always a native of Denmark?
Yes, we do have Swedish blood in us, unfortunately. We don't associate with that part of our blood. And if we could cut that blood out, we would. But yeah, we have always lived in Denmark.
Was it a large or a small family that you came from?
A gigantic, huge family. We always. How was it usually until like 5 years ago? We used to be around.
So a lot of brothers and sisters, or mostly extended?
Yeah. I have a lot of brothers and sisters and a huge extended besides that. So it's massive at every point. And it was.
And where did you
huge.
fall in? Were you leading the pack, following up the rear, or right in the middle?
Right in the middle.
Now, I know this because of Irish twin syndrome. My sister always talks about how it's kind of tough being right in the middle, but I don't know. Is that something that you would agree with? Because I was the end child, so I have a completely different opinion.
No, I don't actually find it that tough to be right in the middle. It's not like I get ignored. It's fine. There's no real consequence. I never feel the difference. I think in our family it works opposite. So it's the oldest one that gets the most attention, for good and worse. And yeah,
that's definitively because United States culture, it's usually the last one that gets babied the most, and you get mama's favorite, so to speak.
I do think I'm mom's favorite. I do feel that. But in general, the overall. But then again, I'm not the youngest, so I am the middle child. But I do think I'm the favorite in that part. But most conversation is about my big brother and my big sister because they have huge success in life.
Now, so it sounds like that you're more comfortable than competitive with their success.
Yeah, I for a long time I felt bad that I couldn't live up to my mostly my big brother standard. My big sister's very high as well, but she's very lax around everything. So I never felt like I could be competitive with her. I just had fun with her. But with my big brother, it always felt kind of competitive, and it always feels like he's a very rough guy who he sounds harder than he actually is. So it made me feel like I wasn't good enough for a long time. But I talked with him, and now I don't feel like I need to compete
Now,
anymore.
did this help you set up the basis as far as where you wanted to go, as far as when you got older and you were getting ready to make that preparation of graduating and joining the real world, getting out of academia?
I think it more influenced my entire academia part of it more than anything else. A lot of the academic part I felt forced into.
So, now I don't know what the equivalent is of our high school, but you go through your grades, kindergarten through 12, and
Yeah. And then in Denmark it's called gymnasium.
okay, and is it basically the same 12 years?
So the first we have we go from kindergarten, and then we have 9 years of school, and then you can go to something called a special 10th grade. For me, I went to music and art school for a year, and then you go to high school equivalent, just gymnasium here.
Now, was that your love, art and music, the performing arts?
Yeah, being creative. Being creative in general is. I always felt like I want to live off doing something, mostly to entertain people. It doesn't have to be art or music. I wanna make people stand and listen or have fun. That's what I want to live. That would be my dream, to live with. Earn enough doing something like that.
So when you were still following the academic route, what was your major for college?
I am a Near Eastern archaeologist, and that's my main degree.
Archaeology.
Yes, and then I have multiple. So I have Near Eastern archaeology. That's the main one. Then I have Central Asian culture. I have Yeoman period Japan, Mayan and Aztec language and culture, and my special I finished on was ghosts and ghouls and how to fight them, Ghostbusters style in ancient Egypt. That's my entire degree.
I could see definitely where that would wrap into a social commentary career. But then again, when you were doing this, was YouTube even anything that you thought of? Because I honestly don't know how old you are, but I know when I was in my formative years, computers really did not exist, and definitely no internet until you got to the mid 90s.
Yeah, I'm 27 years old.
Oh, you're a puppy.
Yeah, I'm young. And we didn't have a computer or internet at home until 2005. As a poor family back then. I lived only with my mom. My dad was an asshole. But doesn't change anything. So for the first many years, I just didn't do stuff like that.
Did you ever feel that that being the age that you are, and the explosion of the world community, did you feel like you were playing catch up once you got onto the computer?
Not really.
Was it very easy?
I don't know. I'm tech savvy as hell. So I caught up instantly. And much to my big brother's dismay, I completely switched off sport and everything else and just went, oh, no, I'm gonna just sit in front of my PC now.
Sorry, I was taking a drink there. Yes, the hair of the dog that bit me will come into play this evening. So, and this is the one thing that I always find fascinating is that when it comes to differential of age, I'm pretty much double your age, and I always think of the greater the opportunity and the bigger the detriment it is when you compare the electronic world to the in real life world. Do you find any conflict in between those two, specifically the socialization?
Yeah. It's not as much regarding my PC right now. It's more where I live in the countryside, but PC has definitely taken up and become my way of socializing in general. So my physical socialization is dead.
And do you think it's something that's more helpful or hurtful to people who are very introverted?
That's really tough. That's a really tough. I think that's on case by case basis, because I do know an introverted person where it does not help being out with anyone. That doesn't help her at all. There's no benefit from that, but she can socialize online, and I do think that in that case it helps. But there's some people, I think it depends on the degree of the introversion they have.
Okay. So when you got out of school, and from everything that you're saying is that you have your degree as well, what pushed you forward to make a YouTube presence?
Two main things. The first one is getting a job in archaeology, and especially when you are as specialized as I am in ghosts and stuff, is borderline impossible. In the archaeological world, names and connections rule supreme. So I have a very, very good friend whose dad is the boss of the University of Denmark, the archaeological and historical department. So because of that last name, she gets jobs that I'm better suited for. It doesn't matter. So back when I spoke Japanese a lot, we both applied for a job in Japan. And she got the job, and she doesn't speak a singular gram of Japanese.
Well, nepotism exists.
Yes, exactly. And that's just something you have to deal with. And when there's limited spaces, they want the people with the names attached to them, then you have to do something else. And for me, it was starting to get another education. That was the first idea. And then I've been on YouTube before with another channel, and I've been on Twitch before with another channel back then, and I with my YouTube I had a modicum of success in Minecraft.
So when you first made the leap, you decided to go gaming rather than going off of your educated work.
Yes, because the first time I went into YouTube was in high school with a friend, and we went Minecraft route because that was when Minecraft was kind of big. The last year of high school that was, and we decided to do Minecraft, and that was a big hit in Poland.
Yeah, I guess people still do that, Minecraft.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, if it's my stepdaughter still has a dedicated Minecraft server that her and her buddies play on every so often. So yeah, I guess it's gonna stick around. But then again, I still occasionally play Dig Dug. So
That's a great
the
game, though.
classics just never die. But
The classic
Yeah.
for a reason. Yeah. The infinite core games. Perfect.
but now when people decide to go on to YouTube, I say that specifically because Twitch is very gamer oriented.
Yeah.
When you did decide to go on to YouTube and do a show, what was the motivating factor for it? What made you get up and go, yeah, this needs to be done?
Was right in the age where
Oh, did I lose you?
the main.
Oh,
What?
you went silent for a minute.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it cuts out my internet. It started doing that late. So, then I think I got half your question.
Yeah, because I didn't hear the answer. But what was your motivation? What was your focus in coming into YouTube?
Well, with the first one, it was right at the time where, and I was young enough at that point, so me and my friend thought, hey, we can easily make a mark in the community, and we have seen other people with less talent do better, so let's give it a shot. That's the first motivation. For the newer one, it started out with having friends on the YouTube where I looked at them, I saw I can do this better, and I decided I'm gonna do it.
So when you get it together, what's your business plan? What's your plan of attack? Because normally anybody who comes on is completely focused of what they want to do and where they want to go. Did you have any of that mapped out, or were you just getting your
Yes.
feet wet?
No, I have that mapped out. I have a general idea of what I want. So the focus is, for me at least, is I want to focus on Tyro's channel. I want to help him get it high above to get monetized, which is great. That's the first. And of course, Moonifest is an official brand now that I have copyrighted.
Oh,
So
Nice.
yeah, I spent some money on that. It's not too expensive though, because the brand is so weird. So I want that to lead over to Moonifest being a thing. Again, monetization. So overall, I want, to live on that in the far future. That would be a great thing if I could live on that. But the main deal is to extra income is nice, so I can spend more time doing art. And then, if everything goes as planned, I will set up as like a studio, art studio.
well, that would be a wonderful thing. But hasn't the adpocalypse thrown a wrench into a lot of those plans?
Nah, most things nowadays, it's more sporadic. It's definitely tougher, but most online-based things are based on donations and subscriptions nowadays, anyway. And I don't figure that it would ever be something you could live off 100%. I doubt that highly. But extra income, like an extra source of income that's not your main one, would help lessen the burden, so you could at some point take the risk of starting an art studio.
And of course, for those of you listening in the chat, coming up directly after this show, they will be running Moonifest Destiny. And we'll make sure and pop those links in when we get closer to the end of the show, when we get to the wrap-up, so you guys can jump right over there and get a taste of what Lo-Fi and the Moonifest crew do over there. I tune in, but, I like being entertained. There's a lot of people out there who don't. Do you find that it's easier, or I should rephrase this. Do you find that it's more difficult to try and have a show that's not based on the conflict du jour?
See, now my Danish brain has to figure out what that means.
basically, there's a lot of content providers out there who latch on to any type of fight or spurgery or wars that are going on between other YouTubers.
Oh, we're not. We are to a less degree definitely not chasing the algorithm as much as one could do, but we do cover a lot of the more in and going on stories. But it's the main focus is not to like talk about the news or bring that to front, but more like bite into things that we have noted that we are very dissatisfied with, or satisfied with, of course. But it's we don't chase the algorithm to the same level as a lot of other content creators.
Honestly, I think when people do that, that causes quite a stale reaction in content. Because if you're pushing the same battles over and over again, or you're covering a topic that 50 other YouTubers have already covered, there's no legitimate reason why they should tune in to hear, take number 52.
No, I do agree, and I also do think the danger in chasing an algorithm is it might not be entertaining in the long run, and you might not have at some point something to fall back to, and it might not end up being entertaining for you as the creator. And entertainment as a creator might be one of the most important things. If you are not entertained by what you're doing, I very, very much think your channel is gonna die.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, because I think there are a lot of creative people out there that sometimes they just get caught up, and they're seeing everybody's getting these big numbers and big watches from these conflicts, and they really just don't last. Now, I will say just real quick, because AP said in the chat, to be fair, the only person I do that with is Scooby, and he deserves it. I think AP's got a very good example of having a fresh take on something and not retreading. Do you ever subconsciously think that, well, you've got a topic that you want to handle? Does it ever claw at the back of your mind to say, oh shit, other people have already covered this? Is it something that we really need to do? Can I bring something new to this?
Yes, that does happen a lot. There's that goes into almost everything I ever done on my own channel. It's based on, would this be fresh and fun, or has someone else? Then again, on my own channel, I don't do news and I don't do stuff like that. I do skits and memes. And those things you definitely don't want to copy, because that's just not fun. But it also happens with certain topics, like when me and Tyro, behind the scenes, we can sit and talk and say, oh, I want to cover this because this annoys me. Oh, but then again, 10 other people are covering at the same time tonight. It's like, well, let's take something else that still annoys me then. But so some things are sorted by, but it's less to do with what is popular right now and more to do with there's no reason, as we said earlier, there's no reason to tune into the 10th show that says the same thing as the 9 others before it.
Well, and would you call it more of a 50-50 partnership?
Yes.
Because
the Moonifest channel is that. Definitely, I would call it 50-50.
And I mean, where do you see it eventually going? Where's the niche that you want to fulfill, that's not only going to be, well, profitable, of course, but more profitable in the creativity segment?
Yeah, see, that's Moonifest is for me not. It probably wouldn't be the main draw. I'd say the main draw is our individual channels where you go to for that, and that's the main focus. The Moonifest is more for the people who watch the videos and are interested in what do we actually like, and want a more personal, without scripted reaction to what's going on right now. So
Well, I can definitely say I got more than one laugh out of the She-Ra vid.
I'm glad. That was tough. I still have I can still sing the entire theme song.
But do you really want to? Isn't it more
No,
kind of like
it's-
post-traumatic stress where people rock back and forth?
That's exactly what I've said to Tyros, that I think I have post-traumatic stress because I cannot get the theme song out of my head. It's still there.
It's just.
It's on the edge of greatness. Oh my.
And which do you prefer? Do you like doing video composition, or do you enjoy doing live streams more?
I would love to do more make actual videos, but I'm better with live reactions, and I'm better like that. I'm better comedic and funny, whereas Tyro is better with scripting and such. So he is definitely better at writing a script and preparing a video where I can then insert jokes into that. And then again, make my own joke. But me thinking of my own joke video to make takes longer than me going on stream and making 10 jokes. And I'm better with streams, but I rather want to be good with videos.
Okay, yeah, I personally have been playing around and setting up some videos. Nothing that's ready to go yet, but I think it's nice to where you've got complete and total control. Whereas you do have to be a little improvisational when it comes to doing live streaming.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ignore Tyro in the chat. Because it's not about me. We will do Q&A at the top of the hour, though. So if there's any questions for Lo-Fi, you certainly can put them there. If you haven't checked it out yet, go down in the descriptor. There are 2 links, one to Lo-Fi's Twitter and one to Lo-Fi's YouTube. And of course, my links are down there, and the links for the prescription for additional entertainment is also down there too. So hopefully after everything is said and done, you can just bookmark this, come back to it, watch Moonifest Destiny, and then maybe check out some of the other people that I personally believe are criminally undersubbed. So, and I'll be honest with you, this part I'm more than a bit hesitant with, because my ignorance knows no bounds. So I just want to walk into this as heads up and as knowledge thirsty as possible. Which is to say that for most of your life you grew up transgender. Is that correct?
Now, for most of my life, I grew up not transgender, not knowing I was transgender,
Okay.
but knowing something was wrong. Because it was very clear from my body type and how my body looked that something was very off.
So when did these wheels start turning for you?
So when I went to 10th grade music and art school,
Mm-hmm.
so I would be about, I think 14 or some. We noticed I was not back in the entirety of primary and 10th, and even starting into high school. I was very shy. I never spoke because I felt wrong, and it looked like I stopped aging at age 12. I was a big age, and I had big boobies, but I was a boy. That was weird. So we went and checked that out, and it turned out that I didn't produce hormones, and I had natural breast growth as a woman would have
Okay.
at the same time. So I didn't produce any testosterone, and I produced, and so the first, and first they had to spend many years figuring out what was wrong because they wanted to just kickstart the part of the brain that sends the signals and stuff, figure out what was wrong, and they thought for a long time that I had a tumor in my head, and that was what was causing it. So I was shy, and I thought something was wrong, and everything would go all right and be fixed like that.
So, growing up in your child years, what assignment were you given at that point, male or female? Okay.
I was given male. But there was a fun fact. The first time I went to the Institute of Sexological Disorders in Denmark, my mom had to come with me, and we had to talk about the past, and we had to talk about things that she noticed in me as a child. And she had never thought about that before, but for the first 5 years, I tried to rip off my own dick because I didn't want it. It felt wrong there. Everything was wrong back then. The first 5 years of my life, I was adamantly against being a boy, but then you get over the phase. That was the idea. That was what people thought. But that is also an early indicator of gender dysphoria.
Well,
now, let me quickly say, don't treat children, by the way. Never treat children with gender dysphoria. Don't give them anything. See if it's a phase first. Don't do anything.
I've seen and read quite a few articles about how there are parents out there that are trying to do gender reassignment at like 4, 5, and 6 years of age.
Yes, and I hope those parents light on fire and someone takes away their children, because that's terrible. In most cases, statistically, these children are just going through a phase. There was a big chance I was going through a phase. Turned out I wasn't. There's another big chance is that what illness it is, like the main illness that hides as gender dysphoria is schizophrenia.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of the people who have gender dysphoric are not gender dysphoric, they're schizophrenic. The problem is, most of these people only find out they're schizophrenic after they have transitioned completely. But in children, it's usually not a mental disorder of any kind. It is statistically just a phase they go through, like tomboy for girls. It's usually just a phase they go through. And you have to wait to closer to adulthood. It's about 14 plus where you can start figuring out if it's a phase, or you should start maybe looking into it. Don't transition still yet. Don't do that until, in my case, until they are a legal adult.
Well, okay, I can see that. When my stepdaughter finally wanted to start doing transition, it was around 15 or 16. First it was I'm bisexual, and then I'm gay, and then I'm transgender.
Yeah, and in women, that's fun, actually. It's not fun, it's interesting. In women, they're at age 14, where men are usually got into the idea of what's going to happen completely. You still need more years, but that's where you develop more of what the personality you will have in later life as well. At that point, that's where most women statistically feel bisexual, transgender, stuff like that, and that's usually also a phase for a few years that they go through, and a lot of them turn out. The people who then go on transitioning, you hear some terrible stories. Of course, some people are happy with it, but you hear a lot of horrifying stories. Like, I wish I hadn't transitioned. It was clearly just a phase, and that's the big thing. Don't ever medicate on people below legal age.
Do you think that currently, right now, in the social mores that are happening right now, that there's a bigger rush to diagnosis than there is to be able to sit back and quote unquote let nature take its course?
Yes, 100,000%. That is exactly what's happening. That's why we have terms like, what is it, onset gender dysphoria? Rapid onset gender dysphoria is apparently a thing that some people say they have now, and where the first thing you diagnose a child with if it can't sit still a single day is that now it has ADHD, and yeah, its diagnosis is everything now. People cannot wait to get diagnosed nowadays. Everyone wants a diagnosis. You throw diagnoses left and right. You never see what's coming. In my family, we have a motto is if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't hurt, which roughly translates into give it a while and look if shit turns into something serious before you do something. Don't rush it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I was sitting back. I guess I would say I'm heteronormative. I mean, I've checked off most everything on the perversity list except for 3 things. But I was disconcerted because of the fact that I'd not seen this before, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Because I mean, it ended up that there was kind of a bit of bullying going on. Well, you can't say this to me, and I find this offensive. And I'm like, well, okay, you know, life's going to be kicking you in the balls as soon as you become an adult and get out on your own. So you're going to have to pick your battles on this. Now, there are people who are going to be out there and not accept you, period. And that's something you're going to have to deal with. You can't run away and be butthurt. And I don't know specifically if that's something that she's caught on to yet, because she's more of an introverted person now. But she was that way when she was living as a male. So I don't think it's really a gender thing. I really do honestly think it's more of a societal thing. That the greater your detachment to the things that are going on around you, the worse things can seem to be, or the more incendiary that they feel, because they haven't been out and skinned that social knee, so to speak. They haven't gotten kicked in the teeth yet, so there's no real actual gauge.
No, there isn't. It doesn't help that there's a large group of people in these circles that try to force it upon people or use coercion to try to manipulate people into thinking it. And it definitely doesn't help that there was an entire group of people called transgenders who did it just because it was modern and it felt good. And yeah, it looked good. It's good to be, because then I can fight the good battle. And yeah, great. Take light of mental illnesses.
Yeah, because I know the one thing that I respected her for was to go and get diagnosed. And she was diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Because I was like, well, are you just not going through a phase? Is this something that you're going to grow out of? And if so, can't you just give it some time, just like you were saying? Can't you just see where it goes?
Yeah.
And
I can say it's not. I'm thankful that Denmark is very, very thorough in regards to testing what people have. Like, it took me 2 years of intensive therapist conversation and stuff like that for them to even want to give me the diagnosis of gender dysphoria, because they have to rule everything out. But there's a lot of places, a lot of countries, a lot of places in the States where you could go to a doctor and you describe the symptoms, which you can read online. And then you instantly after that, you're just diagnosed with, well, you're gender dysphoric because I read it online and I can just pretend and say, yeah. Or it doesn't even have to be pretend. It can be, people can, as you know, there's the thing of reading illnesses online and symptoms online. You instantly think you have all the illnesses. And just reading something and say, oh, I can relate to that, thus I must have. And then you go to a doctor and they say, do you feel this and this? And they say, yeah, I do. And it's like, well, then you're gender dysphoric. It takes much time. It takes a long time to really dig into it, especially when it's mental and personality based.
And I always paralleled this with once we got the internet. My mom would call me up and she'd say, I think I have this disease. And I'm like, why do you think that? Well, because I read on WebMD that if you have these symptoms, that you can have this disease. And it seems like with the availability of information, exactly what you were saying, that a lot of these people are going through self-diagnosis, or they're giving, or they're getting the information that they need to convince otherwise casual professionals that they are what they think they are.
Yeah.
And I don't know, how do you combat that?
You need a more thorough. You need people to not be able to get a diagnosis on the first or second visit to a therapist.
Yeah, and I know she's been seeing a therapist now for about 4 or 5 years. I do know she doesn't want to cut anything off. So
yes,
and I don't know. I know there are people out there who get the gender reassignment surgery, but I've read so many horrors about it.
It's a tough one, and it's really tough. It's still something that I don't know what I want to do. On one hand, yeah, if it goes well, it's amazing, but if it can go badly, and if it goes badly, that's a huge crutch to have in life suddenly.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's incredibly irreversible. And if you are somebody who's a schizophrenic, then that just falls within the grounds of self-mutilation. And
yes, and that's where most of the suicides end up
that's
coming
exactly
from,
what I was going to say.
Those are the main subjects of. You can see there was released statistics of 2016, the height of transgenders. How many people have regretted transitioning? It's been the biggest year ever in medical history for regretted transitions, where doctors have never reported as many patients coming back and saying, hey, I want to transition back, because it turned out it wasn't gender dysphoria. And it's like, well, it's kind of too late now. We can put it back on, but it's not going to work. It's not going to be as before. It's ruined.
When Bruce, now Caitlyn Jenner, was talking about having regret for full transitioning, my jaw just dropped, because this is somebody who has millions and millions of dollars. Couldn't he have talked to the best professionals around, and they would have helped him figure out to not do this?
You would think that there's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of professionals that are just yes men. That there's also a lot of professionals that are so ingrained into one side politically. Like these are gender dysphoria doctors who will try as much as possible to push the diagnosis that this person has gender dysphoria more than actually diagnosing them. That's also a huge issue that is in.
So essentially, they're pushing
circles.
Their beliefs and their agenda.
Yes, and those are also people. Like there was a big case with a Texan child where the mom is pushing towards gender reassignment and gender dysphoria, but most evidence points towards that this child only has the symptoms of gender dysphoria when the mom's around. So, aka, he's doing it because he loves mom. He likes mom. The second mom is not there. He doesn't want to be called his girl name, and he doesn't want to transition and stuff, anything like that. And she goes to medical professions who make it their business, basically to lie, basically to push it. Yeah, you are definitely. That's definitely what you are.
And I just recently watched one where it was a gay couple, and they had her son, and they would spend a lot of time showering him with adulation and affection anytime he dressed up in female clothing. So that's really sending a bad signal to the kid, because the only way the kid really gets that extra special love and attention is if he fulfills the wishes of his parents. Now, I can see that happening in regular circumstance, but essentially changing who you are. I don't see why parents don't find that to be ultimately damaging to the child when it becomes an adult.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how you can be this.
So I tell you what, let's we're getting close to the top of the hour. So if there are questions in the chat, please go ahead and load them up, and I will ask them when they come around. But hey, let's talk a little happy stuff.
Yeah.
What's up with the romance going on right now?
Oh, the Tyro and me. That's going good.
Well,
It's
how'd
great.
you two find each other?
Through YouTube.
Okay, well, you're giving me a short
Which is,
answer on this.
Yeah, I was about to expand on that. So, I think he found and started watching the Con stream, and I was on the Con stream, and he watched Not Safe for Wednesday, and we were having a discussion with someone who was a cock. I think I like not the bad word. Oh, you cock, but an actual cock, a cuckold, someone who liked to watch his partner getting fucked. I think that's it, or someone who wasn't against that. And Tyro wrote in chat that he could get on and ask some questions, and Cell wanted on as well. So I invited Tyro, and I talked to him afterwards, and like, oh, why not? You can join in again. Sure, you can join in again.
No.
And yeah, and then it escalated from that to that I liked his voice. It sounded good, and I do like accent, and I do like voices, so I like the voice, and I decided that so it's like you can be a regular. Just join my show every Saturday. I would write him, just join my show. Just come in and talk and join my show. And then we started talking more and more, and I started inviting him more and more on things, and then the whole getting fired from the Proper Villains happened, and we decided to set up our own show, and then it worked from there. Then it turned into what it is now with Visit and everything.
Okay, so who reached out to hold whose hand first?
He did. He reached out to hold my hand first. I am extremely timid in person the first time you meet me. And I think Tyro can confirm if he is listening that, holy fuck, I felt not bad. I didn't know what to do. I had my hoodie on, I dragged my hood around my head, and I didn't talk very much. I just talked in few single words and didn't say much. So Tyro broke the mold.
And so most of the relationship has been long distance. I'll say honestly, I've never had a lot of success with a long distance relationship. How do you make it work?
Well, there's a lot of chatting. I personally shower him in gooey romantic messages constantly. Every time he's online, I throw a lot of goo on him and love. And he does the same in return. Not to the same degree. Then again, I can't stop, but I don't require a lot of. I'm like a cactus. I don't require a lot of water, but I still provide some awesome flowers. So I just throw a lot of love at him, and he throws love at me, and it's very nice. But I also do think it helped a lot that we met as soon as we did in real life after talking, that we didn't wait around for a long time.
And okay, so what was the time frame before you had a face-to-face meetup?
So I think there was interest for 2 months. Yeah, about like serious interest 2 months before the visit, and I move very, very fast in regards to, well, we have to meet up then. Also, I do like travel. So it's like a double bonus. I get to meet someone I might hit it off with, and I get to travel to another country again, which is great. So we set out to there, and since I don't have a job, which sucks, but we fundraised money for the ticket and some living expenses over there, which people actually helped with. So 2 months after that, no, 6 months is how long we talked, Tyro, I think. 6 months in total, but 2 months before the travel is when we 6 months really. We met in October.
I don't know. You got me on that.
And we met in October together, and I think I started collecting for the trip 2 months before that, and we got everything in. We got everything in 1 month. All the expenses needed, we got covered in 1 month by awesome people. And before that, we have talked to each other for like 4 months before that. Yeah, so 6 months before we met in real life, but we weren't actually completely dating until we met.
Okay. And when you met for the first time in real life, what was the one thing that you were impressed with that couldn't be related through a long-term relationship or a long distance?
Can you repeat that?
What was the one thing that surprised you about Tyro when you actually got a chance to meet in real life that was something that you didn't know existed or couldn't discover because it was a long-distance relationship?
See, now I want to be really dirty, but I'm not gonna do that.
Well, you can go in whatever direction you feel comfortable with.
No, see, I do think me and Tyro, we had many conversations before trying to figure out how much individual baggage we each had, and if there was something seriously wrong with each other before we met. My biggest surprise was how much Tyro likes to cuddle. He's a cat. And yes, so he can throw himself across your lap and it's like, yeah, now you have to scratch me. Like a cat. That was a big surprise. But that was a pleasant surprise. I like that.
Well, that's a good thing because, I know my wife and I met over the internet as well, but there wasn't that much distance. So it didn't take us very long before we actually went out, and I fell for her. There were just mannerisms that I found attractive that I didn't know existed because we were having a phone or a typing relationship.
There is difference. Like me and Tyro can talk a lot. When we talk on voice, we can talk for hours upon hours on end. But when we are in real life, it's of course completely different. It's much better. It's amazing, and we can almost skip sleep entirely because we disagree on if the newest Mad Max movie was good or bad. And that's awesome. That's a good. And some mannerism I'll never forget. That also surprised me was how often Tyro says he in real life, and that was really fun. I did not expect that.
Apparently, he's a variety food connoisseur too. Didn't you guys? Didn't he take you out and?
Yeah, we went to like a huge. I have a list.
Places that you wanted to go or things that you wanted to try.
Yes, things that I wanted to try and things that he wanted me to try. So we went to Whataburger, Chick-fil-A, Home Slice, Ichiban, Catfish, IHOP, Freebird, Texas Barbecue, Chinese Barbecue, Chen's Noodle House, Indian place. I forget the name. Dairy Queen, a lot. Holy fuck! I want to go back to that. Amy's Ice Cream. We had his mom's food. We went to a tea house. I forgot. We went to Pluggers. I went to a Japanese cafe and Church's Chicken, and Waffle House, and which is it numero uno best place I've ever eaten in my existence on the earth. Almost, it's my second favorite dish after my favorite dish, which is Japanese from living there a year. But yes, so we went everywhere.
That's ironic that you say that because our Christmas dinner today was from the Waffle House.
The hash brown.
Yeah, nothing like a little covered, chunked, and peppered. That's
it's okay. I had it. I had hash browns with Bernie's chili. Oh my god, and raw onion.
Oh yeah.
That was good. That was the best combination. Oh my god, that was brilliant. It was at the same time the opposite of living in Japan, but also very similar to back then. So it filled me with nostalgia of great, not expensive food.
I'm very much a fan of country cuisine, but I grew up around it. So, since we're at the top of the hour, I'll say once again that immediately following this show, Moonifest Destiny will be on air. We'll get some links thrown in there at the end. And so you guys can go over. I know I'm going to stop by too. But if you do want to check in, take the 20 seconds. Go down to the descriptor box. Click on Lo-Fi's Twitter or her YouTube. And put a little follow in there. Put a little like. Sub up. Ring the bell. It don't cost nothing. And besides, even if you do it once, YouTube's probably going to erase it anyway. So, if you really like it, you'll just come back and resub again. I know that's what's been happening recently.
They do it. It happens a lot. It's insane. And Twitter does the same thing. I get followed by so many people. It's like, oh, he followed me again. I guess Twitter deleted him again.
Yeah. I get that a lot. I don't have a lot of people that sub to me, but by God, I appreciate an audience that's loyal enough to sub back, and I get reports all the time. Hey, I got unsubbed again, but I'm back. And I'm like, that's cool because you're being a lot more persistent than societal means make it. Because, if somebody unsubs, most of the time people don't give a shit about it. And they just go on about their business. Have you found that that on YouTube, that you have your dyed-in-the-wool loyalists? Those that might follow you across hot coals.
Yeah. I didn't get that.
Do you find that when you establish yourself on YouTube, that you do find a loyal audience? I dare say I don't call them fans, because fans relies to fanatic.
No, I think viewers seems more appropriate. Audience and viewers more than fans. Fans. I don't like the term fans. I'm so like ego. But yeah, I do have some loyal viewers. A lot of them, they're really nice, and they're always there. Like Moxley, he's my favorite tiny man. He's 5 foot tall. He's brilliant, man. He's always there.
Well,
and many others, and I appreciate all of them, and it's great to have some good viewers.
Well, and I'm just wondering if any of the current situation, like what's happening with Patreon, is that affecting you in any way?
I have lost everyone except 2 patrons.
Wow. I think the max I ever had was 3, and now I'm at 2, and they're gracious enough to give me enough money to afford a bottle of vodka every month. So.
Yeah, they pay the two I have now. They pay my phone bill every month, or half my phone bill every month, which is pretty good. It's good.
So you've got the reins of YouTube. You can steer it into any position that you want. What would be the first thing that you would change being in charge of the YouTubes?
And not to have such a very, very clear political stance. Not take a general side. Try to keep it in the middle. That would be my first thing I would change. No bias towards any one side.
And do you think that, I'm sure that's something that's been thrown around the offices of the YouTubes, but do you think they're applying any type of seriousness to it? Or has it become infected and therefore blinded by one side over the other?
They have gotten blind because of the money they don't receive if they stay in the middle, or so they are taking the safe route, which is let's lose a bit of sub as people who make content, but we keep the ones that the advertisement deem as safe, aka we still make the money. Of course they're gonna feel little bit of a loss, but the advertisers are not gonna to the same degree run out and say, hey, they support some unfavorable cunts over there. So yeah, they want the money and they don't care about the speech.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, and I know this is something that we talked about on IRS a couple nights ago, that you would think as a business they would chase the money and not the motivations. And it seems like, there are blatantly obvious hate groups out there. They exist.
Definitely.
Just like on Patreon, there are actual terrorist organizations that have a Patreon. Yet they boot somebody like Sargon.
Yeah. And they keep, to mention the most common mentioned one, they keep Antifa around. They keep Antifa supporters, which Patreon goal is to arm everyone in Antifa. They keep those around. That's a domestic terrorist group, but they kick Sargon. Ridiculous.
And that's the thing that really confuses me, because that was the one thing that attracted me to this platform in the first place. Because, unlike how Twitch, you look at somebody sideways and you're kicked off. But, now people like BitChute and Daily Motion are now starting to politicize an agenda. And, YouTube's just following along with it. And there's a lot of voices out there that need to be heard. And even if they're contrary to what you believe, I've always believed in the saying that the greatest disinfectant is sunlight. The more you let these people be closeted, then it's easier for them to operate in the darkness, to move in shadows.
Yeah. Get them out. Let them yell their shit in the street, and then combat them with your own words. And you could don't hide them away, so they can sit and plot and gather a few people, and they can sit and plot, and they can get butthurt. They can plot some more while you're out throwing rainbows and in your safe space because you're such a scared little child.
Yeah, and I do think that it's also training people to not have a thick skin, to not be able to take an insult and fire back. And I think that's probably the greatest, in my mind, that's the greatest detriment that the future generations are having, because they're always taught, well, they're being taught now, I mean, as high as, collegiate academia, to go and find their safe space where nobody can say bad words or contradictory words to their beliefs. And
it's completely in my head completely retarded that academia and universities would ever follow these guidelines and go, no, we are safe space. And the worst thing I've ever heard one of these guys say is that going to the university, it's like family. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place of teaching. You're not supposed to feel safe. You're not supposed to feel unsafe either. But you come to get taught. You don't come to feel like it's like sitting in your room around your plushies and not feel hurt because, oh no, someone said a bad word. It's disgusting that they go this route.
My oldest brother said something interesting. He said college is supposed to be boot camp for life. So you have to be tested.
Yeah, so it's no one wants you to be, as they like to spin it around, raped and attacked. No one wants that. That's illegal for a reason. But you don't have to be a little scared child and say, that man said bad word, arrest or throw off. And like, no, let him have his belief. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's I hate and the best phrase is the pussification of generations. I think now is basically the time you need to fight. Even if you're using your ignorance to drive you forward, at the very least, maybe that ignorance can help start a discussion that will bring things farther down the line. And kids don't know everything. My stepdaughter is a straight out communist. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
And she keeps talking about how, well, if this was this and that was that, and I was like, communism has never worked ever.
But that's not real communism. Okay, well then call me when real communism ever works. Yeah. It won't.
And even by the definition that Marx said it, is that communism was just supposed to be a transitional state. It was never supposed to be something made in permanence. But that's a conversation I can't have because, of course, walking away. I can't sit down and have a conversation with her because she gets frustrated and just walks away. And I'm like, if you had conviction about what you were saying, and you could field the questions that I have, there's a slim chance that you could convince me. But time and wisdom and living life, when you get to my age, and she's half my age, so it's like you're gonna find that there are definitely things that need to be done, that need to be experienced. You have to take those skin knees. You have to take those bruises, maybe even a broken ego now and then. But there's a cast for that.
Yeah, and it's a very good point. If you believe in something, you can also discuss and defend that point. If your defense is walking away, then you don't believe it. Then you don't believe it more than it's not more than a skin deep belief.
Yeah, you have to be committed to whatever you're saying.
Yeah, and people are not that anymore. They take it just on the skin and they go, well, I'm this. No, you're not. Defend it. I don't have to listen to you. I need my safe space. And then they walk away. And like, Jesus Christ.
It's one of those, if you want to start a conversation, you don't start it by screaming at somebody. Because that's not how a conversation actually works.
No, it's... And it doesn't help that, the sites, social media sites such as YouTube and Twitter and Patreon and campuses and universities, they now defend those people by saying, well, yeah, you should have your safe space, so we're gonna ban the people who want you to defend your point.
Yeah, that's... I have such a problem with people who I actually treat them like Jehovah's Witness who come to my door, and they say, hey, we want to talk to you about God. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Come on in. We'll talk, as long as there's only one condition. You provide me with the same amount of time that I give to you, so I can tell you what my opinion is, and then you have plenty of time to share yours. And for some strange reason, they'll get their time in and they'll share everything. Now, occasionally I will interrupt for clarification, but it's not to counter a point. I'm going Socratic with it. I want to know exactly, how this works, or where this theory or thought came from, and then they can roll on. But 10 out of 10 times that's happened, legitimately, they will just start interrupting and not let me finish what my thought is, because apparently it's very difficult for them to handle existentialism.
Yeah, there's the three major tactics. Let's change it. The first one is to, of course, walk away. The second one is to yes, interrupt and attack the one point you feel like you can get your point across on. But the deal with them is that they don't listen to the entirety of the conversation. They will pick out a single word out of context and attack that one and say, but you can't say that. It was like, that's not... Could you listen to the entire sentence before you interrupt my question, at least? Or the third point is to go off topic, is to ramble on and switch topics 10 times in a row to try to confuse you, and thus they can win a conversation. Because nowadays, winning the conversation is not about actually proving your point. It's about talking more than the other one, or not listening to what the other one has to say. It has nothing to do with what the content of what you're saying anymore.
Yeah, it's more a talking at than talking with.
Yes, they gave up because I kept talking at them, so I won. It was like, but you said nothing. Doesn't matter, I won, they shut up. Okay, great. Congratulations.
Yeah, you basically have won nothing, but apparently, if that's something that you want to be prideful about, then, go ahead, blessed be in your ignorance. Because people who don't want their minds changed are not going to have their minds changed. But if you have reasonable conversations with people, it makes them deviate from the talking points and hopefully go back and do their due diligence, research, and figure out their own opinion. I mean, that's how I got out of religion, was because I was raised Pentecostal apostolic, and there was a very strict way in how you had to believe in God. And it's like, well, you know what? If this God guy exists and he's a loving, generous individual, then the things that you're saying just don't follow suit. They don't make any sense. So I went out and I searched. And I found what worked for me. And what worked for me was not following dogmatic religion.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm talking a way little too much. And they're shilling my Streamlabs way too much in the chat instead of putting questions in there.
Yeah, God, insane with chili.
People, put some questions up there in the chat.
Yeah, ask some questions. Everything. I don't say no. I can phrase a no differently than just saying no.
Sorry, had to...
Ask me anything.
I'm sorry.
2 seconds, Doc.
Okay.
I have to go take a pee. A quick one. I'll be back.
I can do some shilling here. Sorry, guys. I had to get rid of that heartburn. The best way to get rid of heartburn is the hair of the dog that bit you. But since Lo-Fi does not like Svedka vodka, tonight I went with Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. And damn, that stuff is good. It's a very nice palate cleanser. Now, of course, I'm going to direct you in this shilling time down to the descriptor. Lo-Fi's links are located there for her Twitter and for her YouTube. And like I said, we'll be popping in the link for Moonifest Destiny, which is going to happen immediately after this. Also, my links are down there. There's my Twitter, there's my Streamlabs, there's Patreon, and of course, if you're looking for the finest in bootleg Medicare merchandise, then look no further than Doc Griffin's TeePublic Store. That's right, Griffin's TeePublic Store. Stop by and buy something, damn it. And of course, another thing that I find incredibly important that I always list, the prescription for additional entertainment. And that is for the people that I like to watch. The people that I enjoy when I'm not broadcasting or streaming. These are the people that I find interesting. They have great takes. They're all amusing in many different ways. And it's essentially a chaos circle of entertainment. Because there are some people who get right down to it, and then there are just people who like to fuck around for a couple of hours on the internet, and I appreciate all of that. So if you do have the opportunity and you're coming back to watch one of these streams or to rewatch any Doctor on Call, please do take the time and jump down there and give some love to the people. At least give them a little listen. See what you think. Unique comes in every shape and size, and they are down there. And welcome back.
See, we have some great questions in chat.
Okay. Well, the first one I see is from Rakist Network. Or Rakist.
No, there's one.
Oh,
there's
there?
one above that. It's one above.
Okay, right. Oh, I was looking at the one with the elves.
Yeah, that's the one about Gary Busey versus Andy Dick, which is Gary Busey, of course. That guy might actually have a mental illness, as he said, because of a car crash. So I don't think he has any limits to how hard he will bite Andy Dick. So he will win the death fight battle.
He's all Andy Dick is all sound and fury, signifying nothing. Whereas Gary, you guys are not going to get me into telling that story. I may tell it again some other time, but I actually did interview Gary Busey once. And let's just say, he's a difficult kind of guy. But thank you, Jolly Rogers Bilgewater, for that question. Rakist asks, why are elves so superior in every way to dwarves?
Well, if you don't like, if you rather want to go with your gay religion and magic instead of going with hardcore technological advance, then keep going with your gay elves, Rakist. You know, dwarves is the correct way. They might be half the height, but they're twice as bulky, and they invent all the best technology.
Yeah, I would say when I played D&D, I enjoyed playing a dwarven fighter more than an elven magic user.
Yes, there's something about being half height, twice width, and just beating people.
they were built to take a beating. And that's pretty much what you need in a fantasy world where everything is trying to kill you. Okay, and there's a follow-up. Which YouTuber don't you like and why? That's one you can skip if you want.
Boy, let me. A quick one is called I know a person who completely does not live up to what they could do. They squander the potential they have. That I hate that. But there's one that okay, I can say it. I can say one YouTuber I have discovered that I legitimately do hate.
Okay.
And that is that's Mr. He used a National Libertarian, Natlib Purposeful. I don't like that guy because his ego is ginormous, and I don't care about egos.
I don't think I've ever listened to him.
he is, so that's a person I don't like because of the ego, and then another person I don't like that because of missed potential. That's Antoine. Now it's out there. Okay.
I've seen Antoine a couple of times.
At least
but
one of them.
I don't know. I can't judge his potential.
I have known him for a long time, but yeah, it annoys me because he has potential and he has great people working with him. That's good potential. So, and I hate missing out on that, unfortunately. But it's something you can work on. You can live up to your potential. I think that's possible. I don't know about fixing that ego to be purposeful. That's be ashamed.
Okay. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. And I am sorry that I did forget. But, that I did almost forget. And that is at the end of this, we will be announcing who won the Mr. Medicare hat. And it's a name that somebody might recognize because it's theirs. So we'll see what happens with that a little bit later on. Okay, now, well, I guess this is kind of a collegiate question. Gaming and Yelling asks, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Well, a woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. That's it. That's the answer.
There you go. I think that counts. Now I know we're kind of at the bottom of the last hour, but I'm still kind of jittery about not giving you guys enough of a chance because you are, bumping what your normal start time is for Moonifest. So I think we'll wrap a little bit sooner than we normally do, but that's not because of the fact that we're not having a great conversation. It's just I don't want you to be burned out when it comes time to do your own show.
I'm not gonna be burned. I took a nap before this.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
not gonna be burned out. Oh, see, there's more questions. Rakus, that's underrated YouTuber.
Wow, let's see here. Actually, Rakus says, if you could have any professional career, what would it be?
Concept artist or movie director.
Ooh. Directing movies is hard stuff. I mean, Ron Howard says that it isn't, but you've seen his latest work.
Let's forget that exists. And Rack is the most underrated YouTuber, in my opinion. That both of them are in chat right now, and that is Tyro and Rackist.
Yeah, I like the content that they put out. Do you think that there's any way that a grassroots movement can actually work to propel the YouTubers that you like? Or is it just from what I feel, to me, it's always just going to be a passion project to get the word out for people that I like, and I hope it's beneficial. But what are your thoughts on that?
That's really tough. It would be amazing if a grassroots movement could help, but the thing it would have to change. It's so ingrained in society. It would have to change the entirety of how advertisers look on what content. Like if advertisers could live with unfavorable, in that eyes, people advertising for the things, the world would be a better place. They would earn more money, first of all. They can still set hard limits. That's called, if you're wearing a pointy white hood and burning a black man on a cross, probably gonna hit that and not let you advertise. But otherwise, just that would be a major thing. But I don't know how a grassroots movement would do that.
Well, and I mean, there's only so far that my word of mouth can go, of course, because of the amount of people that sub up and watch what I do. But yeah, I mean, mine's just a passion project. It'd be nice though, if you heard somebody like PewDiePie or Jacksepticeye or Markiplier go, hey, yeah, you got to check out Moonifest Destiny.
That would be amazing. I do think that after the last burn that PewDiePie got, again, I do think he is a little bit less hesitant to call out people.
Oh, I've actually sent a request to interview him.
That would be awesome. That would be a dream come true. That's the one Swedish person I don't hate.
Well, he technically tries to get out of Sweden as much as possible, so...
He lives in England. He lives in England, so he's not even in... He hasn't been living in Sweden for, like, what, 5, 6 years now?
Well, I mean, like, getting the actual Swedish out of him.
Yes, he's very good with that as well. Well, I can't blame him. No one can blame him.
And yeah,
no one
I still watch his stuff. I don't watch so much the gaming, but his cultural stuff, I'll tune in and watch.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it.
Let's see here. Tyro asks, if you could swap bodies with anyone, who would it be?
No one? Why would I want to do that? Then I wouldn't be me.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, if you could do a Freaky Friday and just do it for a day, is there anybody that you would like to,
I would find the richest person in the world, swap bodies. I would make them believe it so that the only way they could swap bodies back is to leave a fully formed legal contract, that they would have to donate X amount of people to me, to my former body, and then I would switch back and use that contract and be rich.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd just swap bodies to a publisher so I could get a decent writing contract again. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's also something, like, do it to your own benefit, at least.
It doesn't have to be king for a day, definitely. Wow.
If you can switch bodies, you can definitely, like, talk to, like, you could go in, you can dress up even as a Gandalf the Grey, and you can go, I'm gonna swap bodies. And they're going to say, no, you're not. That's a lie. You can't do that. And say, I'm going to swap bodies unless you write my contract. And then you swap the bodies. And then it's like, yeah, well, you have to do it now. Otherwise, I've never swapped my bodies back. And they don't know it runs out after
because, voodoo only works on the people who believe in it.
Exactly. So if stuff like that happened and no one else knew, it's like, well, they how would they ever know it's going to turn back?
Okay, I don't think this is actually a question for Lo-Fi, but I'll ask it anyway. Jolly Rogers Bilgewater asks, what is Anubis's favorite shade of lipstick, and why is it penis?
And I don't know how to answer that when you just answered the reason he really likes dick lipstick is because he likes the elves more than dwarves. That would be the
yeah, because elves do wear lipstick, don't they?
Yes, they do. And they do like their dick in the mouth. All of them. It's a national pastime.
Let's see here. Okay. Okay, Tylo, this comes from Kadant. Tylo Finch08.
It says, it does call me Tylo. Jesus Christ, wow. We have melded into a single person now.
If I go to visit you both when Lo is back, will I get cuddles?
Yes.
Well, I do have to say that yes, Kadant is eminently cuddleable, and if you guys do have the if you guys do have the slumber party when you get back into the States, then yeah, that would be the ultimate time.
Yeah, so no, of course, Kadan. If you visit me, I'll cuddle you. And yeah, of course.
Oh, and you'd also have the opportunity to cuddle Muffin Button.
Yeah.
And maybe Sparky.
Sure, why not?
Now, as far as it goes, you've been interactive with more than just a show. Like you were saying, you were interacting with Cuntstream. You've got Moonifest. What's something that you want to do that you haven't done yet on the YouTubes?
I want to do a real proper video where I can express my education without feeling the need to scrap it every time I write it. I would love that, and I would love to do a collab with Aiden, which we have already planned. So that's fine. So that's also a good thing.
The power of the IRS.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing I will take time out and chill. If you guys are ever up on the overnight, can't sleep, please stop by the Insomnia Ramble stream, because there are a lot of wonderful people like Lo-Fi, like Aiden Paladin, like Tyro, of course, Kadant, sometimes Jolly Rogers Bilgewater, and of course Rackus News. Yeah, it'll be a slumber party cuddle puddle. And yes, it will be legal. Because it'll be like on the West Coast, so everything's legal on the West Coast. Unless you're following the Demolition Man project, then I don't even want to get into that one. So, as far as it goes down the road, you want to do vids. You want to do something in your primary education. Is it?
Yeah, I want to use it for something.
Is it only you that's in your way? Because I can say that with me, that's what it is.
Yes, it's me. I'm in my way because I have tried. Like, one thing I've tried, I've gotten great people like James to read it instead of myself. But I've tried to get my my final written paper from university into a video form, because I honestly do think it's a great paper I wrote, and I wanted to get that in video form. But every time I do it, I get disappointed with it, and I end up scrapping it. And one of the key reasons is that my accent doesn't deliver the correct intent. It sounds sillier and funnier than it's supposed to, and I don't necessarily want that. Jokes are good, but sometimes I want something more serious.
So it's myself. Kind of like the layman syndrome, because sometimes his accent gets in his way.
Yes, and it's the same, and I have yet to break. I need to be better with pronouncing everything correctly before I gonna throw myself. But being on streams a lot and working with Tyro and helping reading through his scripts and stuff like that, and doing collabs with him helps a ton.
Well, but then again, you're dealing with something that's not your first language, which I think is very admirable.
Yeah.
By the way, how many languages do you speak?
I speak Danish and German and English. And while I lived in Japan, I did speak Japanese. Now it's more wishy-washy, because I haven't used it since.
Well, yeah, the farther you are away from it, the less the likelihood it'll stick strongly to your memory.
I'm very certain that if I go back, that it will come back to me, because it does come back to me when I go on a anime rampage and all I do is watch anime for an entire day. I don't need subtitles. I just put it on the secondary screen and listen to what's happening.
So, what was the thesis of your paper?
It is the Uraeus figurine of ancient Egypt. It's a striking cobra figurine. It's called a Uraeus, and what it did, and that is what something you placed in the four corners of your room, and it protected you against nightmares, because nightmares is the gateway into the demon world, where the demons and ghosts come from. Now they don't have actual demons. It's a big wish wash. So have a good 5 pages of the paper is just explaining what a demon is and how it relates to ancient Egypt, and that it ultimately doesn't, but it's a good word to use. But the focus is on these figurines and what they mean in comparison to ancient Egyptian culture, and why it's a snake and why it spits fire.
Almost like, but then again, it's more of a passive thing, like the Native American dream catchers.
And you have to have them in the corners. And it's an interesting world, because nothing I have ever seen or read otherwise, besides doing this research myself, really fully shows how the Egyptian other life actually works. Everything is like 10% of what it actually is.
There are people out there with very good voices that you can tap for it.
That is true. I got James to do it. Rakist. He did it.
And Kadant's asking if she can read your paper one day, maybe. And I'm saying no, because you have to finish reading the damn story I sent you a month ago.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to send it to Kadant Level. She is allowed to read it.
But are you actually going to read it, Kadant? That's the whole point. See, I get butt hurt when I send shit out and people don't read it. And it's like, it's not like a novel.
I get that. I
even send them audio adaptations of my stuff, and nobody listens to that. And the only thing you have to do is press play.
That's perfect. That's what I need. And after I discovered the greatness of audio books, I almost don't read anymore. I try to get everything in audio.
Well, then I will try and send. I will send you a link or two.
Oh, feel free. That's good. I listen to that while I game and while I write and while I animate and draw.
Yeah, most of it's horror, because apparently that's what was popular at the time.
I love horror. Not horror. I love horrors. No, I like horror.
Bear with me here. Yeah. I thought I had my phone turned off. I apologize. Yeah, I just got caught in the genre. I was, I was like, here's some horror stories. And they're like, oh, well, we're a creepypasta website, and we can do creepy. And I was like, my shit is not a creepypasta. But if you want to phrase it that way, if you're going to spend, time, effort, and manpower on it, fuck it. Yeah, go ahead, call it a creepypasta. I don't care. Which I guess leads me to the point of, when you're talking about defining what you do, not just how you do it, but what you do on YouTube. If somebody, let's say you were wandering out on VidCon and somebody pulls you aside and goes, well, what's your channel about? How would you explain it to them?
I would say, well, my personal channel is about making memes and shit and weird animations. It's just jokes. The other channel is a podcast type stream show about what goes on at the moment in popular culture, such as comics and movies, and also what happens in regards to the limitation of free speech and absurd shit like that.
And by the way, I'm curious, why haven't you gotten a sponsorship for your Not Safe for Wednesdays from Bad Dragon yet?
Because they don't reply back. Yeah, I agree. Bad Dragon, fuck you. Come on. I accept payment in dildos.
And if if we would do that, then the world economy would be safe.
Yes.
Fuck the
Oh my
euros.
God.
Yeah.
Let's pay with dildos.
Now, yeah, I guess we're getting close to the wrap here, but I really do want to make sure, because there's a shotgun blast of topics that we could speak about. Was there any topic that you've done in this past year that you felt was too important to not talk about and not discuss?
Oh, there's actually a few topics I think is adamantly important that they are discussed on a regular basis. Nowadays, I actually think the whole Patreon debacle and how payment people who work with payment companies such as PayPal are going political. I think that's a very, very important thing, because that's actually affecting people's economic and livelihood, and that's terrible. That's a topic I think is eminently insanely important to keep speaking about until something has been done, because we cannot live in a world that if you say the wrong word, then your bank won't give you your money. That's terrible. That's horrifying. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And the same goes with the what can you call it, the equality, in the sense of let's make people understand that one side is not necessarily worse than the other, that both sides are fucking horrifyingly terrible, and that's also important. Like let people on the extreme left understand that what they're doing is disgusting, and people on the extreme right the same. That's also an important topic, because words is a good way. We need to convince people that violence is not the answer. Maybe talk to people. You're insane.
Yeah, one of those, please use your big boy words.
Yeah, don't use your fist. Talk to each other instead. And it's like, and again, people, it's a big conversation to talk about that. There's more to affection than just the name, because these guys are called the anti-fascist. Doesn't mean what they're doing. No matter what they're doing, it's anti-fascist. The same way, just because communism sounds good on paper, doesn't mean it works. Like, look into stuff. Don't base your opinion on a name.
Yeah,
that's important.
And that's one of the things. And correct me if you don't feel this way, that there are too many movements that simply publish talking points. And that's what the majority of their, for lack of a better word, followers or acolytes spew back. If that makes any sense. It doesn't sound like they've done, and I use the phrase due diligence all the time. I was a Lincoln Douglas debate coach, so due diligence is something that if anybody's going to debate anything, they need to do.
Yeah, you need. I basically say that no matter what you do your due diligence beforehand. Don't throw your lot in with everything before you know what you're throwing it in with. Don't just take. And a big thing, one thing I had to convince my parents is, they were hugely into just reading one news source and base their entire opinion on that. That's not how you do it. Do your due diligence. Read both sides of the same story to get the rather point. And yes, it takes extra, because you suddenly have to at least read one extra article. It's worth it in the end, because you can gather your own picture and form your own opinion instead of just taking what's given to you.
Do you think that it's an unspoken fear that they don't do their own due diligence to where the talking points are safer?
No, I don't think it's a fear. For many people, I think it's laziness and trust. They trust that what they read, which it should be like this, that when what you read in the news should be the news. It should be the factual thing, but it's not what it is. Everything is so linked to a political side that you cannot just read the news now. But there's still the trust that what you read in the news is correct, because the news are supposed to be the factual correct statement, but it's not anymore. So people don't look beyond that. They don't adapt to that it's not that anymore. A lot of people, they just live with it used to be good, it's not anymore, but I cannot be asked, and I do still believe it's good, so let's not switch. It's fine, let's just read this one CNN.
I still have problems getting over believing there is non-biased journalism, with the exception of Weekly World News. And for God's sakes, they find faces on Mars and the Bat Boy. So there's been muckrakers and yellow journalism since the William Randolph Hearst era, starting in the 20s. So I don't think it's improved, but over certain decades, it's been able to be veiled more often. But yeah, there's an automatic bias. I don't see the major publications printing anything that doesn't have a through line of the paper's political belief. I think that's very injurious to any of the readers. Unless they're already of that bent, you're not really convincing them of anything, but you are giving them a phantom reassurance of what they think.
Yeah, and it just doesn't help. It doesn't help to just, if you have some people that believe one thing, and instead of going like, the newspapers don't challenge beliefs either. The newspapers are also chasing the algorithm. You can see, like, Tim Pool did a great video on Der Spiegel again after they found out that one of their best journalists, most of his stories were fake, and that guy have won awards from CNN, best journalist of the year and stuff like that. Because why would they ever fact check what's coming out? Because let's just chase the algorithm. And it's been noted that they tend to focus on important things, like things that makes them money, instead of things that is factually correct. Because, and again, this is a news source that we are supposed to trust and put our faith in, but they just feed their own agenda to get as much cash as possible, and that's terrifying. It's horrible. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's. I have a very hard time with people who want to, for lack of a better term, revel in the status quo. That there's safety and security in no movement, and you always have to evolve, especially if it's a societal thing. You always have to evolve. You always have to move forward.
Yeah.
And the more that they do this, the less that we're moving forward. I don't really see where it's going to end up being beneficial in any way, because if you get to the specific point where you're doing biased or yellow journalism, then you're going to sell a whole hell of a lot less, because people just don't want to hear what you had to say, and you already have your built-in followers, but there's no way you can expand a base when you're spouting biased beliefs.
No. And at some point, hopefully, people are gonna, and it seems to be somewhat working in regards to, like, the big Der Spiegel call out when please fact check some of your journalist work. This is ridiculous. But to a big degree, people just don't care about it. They want what they once had, and they are just gonna buy into that. They feel safe knowing that this newspaper is gonna shit on Trump. Let's say that the big bad yellow guy, the big bad orange guy. He's dangerous. So let's just buy into that instead of reading up on stuff. And it's horrifying. I wish people would do their due diligence ultimately.
Is there anything curative that can actually be done at this point? Or is it just going to have to become an evolution of revolution? Basically shutting these people down and saying, we're completely done with you, and they wait until another source comes.
I think that in the end is the best point, is to not give them the clicks. The best point would be to get people to understand that they would, first of all, they would have to do more research themselves than just rely on what one paper says. That's gonna be a tough sell though. But it's again, hitting them monetarily is the best way to get the news quote unquote newspapers to understand that what they're doing is not what people want. How to do that though, I unsure on how we would make that work.
I'll be honest with you too. I have no clue, and I've been on the planet for over 5 decades.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be a lot of helpful re-education of how people do their own research on a lot of people to make that happen. We need an entire generation of people like us and Tim Pool to replace all the generations before, so when they die out they can teach people. It's not gonna happen. I doubt that's gonna happen. People are gonna be biased as long as there's money in
although I have to laugh though. Every time somebody goes after Tim Pool's beanie and shows that he's bald, and that's really what he cares about. I don't know if I could handle that amount of vanity.
No.
I mean, okay, I'm not bald yet, and I'm in my 50s. That's something that he just should have become accustomed to, because he was like, "Don't take my beanie because that could expose me." It's like, dude, you're already showing your damn face. You are legitimately doxxed.
Yeah.
Are they doxing the fact that you're bald? Well, technically, yes, but live with it. Be a man, damn it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Everyone has some improvements.
Yeah, kids today.
He does get a lot of people fighting him on where the best like comeback they have to things he says is, "You're a big beanie baby," and it's just, wow. Okay, well, that's a great comeback. But to a degree, it's correct when the guy will cry over people removing his beanie. But whatever.
Well, you know, I've always had the thought that as long as vanity doesn't get in your way, then the possibilities are endless. And that could be not just physical, but professional vanity too. You've got to learn to, turn into it and be comfortable about it. And if you're not, then that's a you problem. Let me see here. Oh crap! Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm working 2 things at once here, because we do have the winner of our Mr. Medicare hat.
Oh.
And we put him in the randomizer last night, and I was too drunk to actually put it out there. But here we go. I'm going to tweet this out, but I will also say it as well. We would like to congratulate the winner of the Mr. Medicare hat, and that person's name is Fuckwad. So congratulations,
awesome.
Fuckwad. Get a hold of me via DMs, and hopefully you got a P.O. box, and after the holiday we'll get that shipped right out to you. So congratulations, Fuckwad, even though you're not listening tonight, but he normally is in the chat.
It's Last Cool says promo guy Fuckwad. Let's just tag him in there, congratulations. And so I'm gonna read.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't claim or if he turns it down, we'll have to throw everything in the damn randomizer again. Oh, fuck, I forgot to... Yeah. Here, wait a minute. I gotta add him.
No, I did that now. I retweeted it with him added. That should help. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, you know, I'm a boomer, so I'm kind of getting used to this. But, yeah. I'm glad we could do that little extra thing. I did actually get a... I did actually get a Doctor on Call hat, but I am still planning to go down to Knoxville and wear, because I got 2 Medicare hats. So I'm planning to wear the Mr. Medicare hat down there, and I have little business cards made up. I stole the idea from Nathan Fillion, where it's going to be a business card that just says, "Yes, you have just met Mr. Medicare. I hope this enriches your life." And then have a little autograph on it. Because, you know, I don't know. Is that... Lo-Fi, would you consider that trolling?
Little bit. But it's good. It's the fun kind. It's something that most people will appreciate. It's not the type of annoying trolling. It's fun.
Although I will say that I won't take pictures. I mean, if they're going to dox me, they're just going to have to spend the 30 seconds to look me up online to dox me. Because I'll just be wrecked out in drinking gear at that point. So I do want to make sure it is 5 after. There are people in our audience who are not only content providers, but they're looking to be better content providers, or they're looking for some type of inspiration that help builds what they want to do. What would you share with them as far as what you've learned in your trials and tribulations becoming a YouTuber?
Like, they're gonna be with the first one is gonna be the very, very cliche stereotypical one called have fun with what you're doing. If you don't have fun, it's not gonna work out. Anything creative, if it's a chore, it's gonna be bad and no one's gonna enjoy it. And that goes for most things creative and every guy. The other one is to how did I just forget what I wanted to say? That's pretty good.
Well, it's getting late, and I have been drinking.
Yeah, just make content you wanna. Just make content that you wanna do. Have fun with it. Don't press things out. Don't force things out. That's gonna ruin everything. And talk to everyone. Don't be an asshole. Don't be an egotistical prick. You have to be able, especially starting out, I would say, be a bit. Make it so people are able to relate to you a little bit is probably gonna help a lot, because starting out with a huge fucking ego, who is gonna want to stick around for that when it sounds like people talk down to you when you're in chat just for being there? That's terrible. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by people who hit like that 10,000 mark, and all of a sudden it seems like their ego kicks in.
Doc, I know people that have hit the 1,000 mark where that happened.
Oh, I'll just be all types of retarded the moment that I hit 1,000. I think it'll happen before I die.
Yeah, it will. Sure, we'll get
but,
there.
You know, that's definitely not on my list of things that. It's not on the bucket list. Let's put it that way. I know I've got over 100,000 watch hours, and that to me is mind blowing.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just. Yeah, I mean, as long as I would definitely agree. As long as you have a goal to get on and do what's making you happy, then there's really no way that you can actually go wrong. I think that's infallible.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. I'd like to thank everybody who came out tonight. And yes, if you want to donate to the Streamlabs, the link is down there. I do appreciate it. We were close to hitting the goal of what I needed to go to Knoxville. If it doesn't get any bigger than that, I can make it work. I'm not afraid to do Greyhound. And I don't know. I might be picked up by a couple of random strangers that carry guns. So that could be a fun adventure too. I would like to promote what's going to happen in January, but I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. I have 2 guests booked, but I'll be honest with you, because of what's currently going on in IRL, I might take next week off. I'm not sure, but I'm saying it's looking like that. That you have a week without me, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I only have, out of the 5 weeks, I only have 2 of the 5 slots booked, with 2 waiting, because there's kind of a bigger name that we're waiting to see if this person says yes, and then we can fill in the rest of it around this person. But that person has not said yes. Excuse me. Their manager has not said yes. So I have no idea what's going on. But I will say that if Bad Dragon really wants to get their name out there, they should probably go with Not Safe for Wednesdays. And
Which is restarting in January. It's been on a temporary hiatus.
And honestly, if you ever need any help going that way, just hit me up in the back channels. I have a tendency to be able to bug people very well IRL.
Nice. I'm gonna take advantage of that. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, only thing you need to do is have a good clip where you're actually, and you guys talk them up all the time. So, I mean, that's all you really need to get them in there. It's not like you guys are trying to court the Dollar Shave Club. You're playing to the demographic that watches, and that's what I respect. Although I'm not sure I could handle the conversation again with Mr. LM002 talking about appropriate butt plugs.
I sent him a picture of a fleshlight made of Lego.
Oh my God.
And said, I thought that he would appreciate that.
That's a masochist item. Oh my.
Yeah. He appreciated it. It was right up his alley. It was horrifying and terrible. That was his exact words.
So, I don't know if we're going to do this tonight, but I'll throw it up. The Insomnia Ramble stream usually happens, used to happen around 2 a.m., but since we get like 50% more Kadant starting earlier, we usually do that. So if you all would like to stop by, that's the IRS. We are the crossroads for overnight. You have no idea who's going to show up, because we have no idea who's going to show up. But I would like to thank my guests for this evening. You have been wonderful, Lo-Fi, and you are welcome back on. Or if you ever have anything that you need to promote, then certainly you have a friendly ear here, and we'll pass it along.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. And thank you, chat, for coming out this evening. We certainly appreciate you as well. As far as the diagnosis goes, I don't see any difficulties here. I don't think that there is anything lingering or chronic, with the exception of being intensely entertaining. And if is Tyro still around? Is he going to spam the link?
I don't know. It doesn't look like him to not have spammed
He
the
has
link.
not spammed the linkage.
Tyro.
Do you have the link by any chance?
I actually do. I do have a link. It's right there. There's the link for what's gonna happen next. Right after this.
Okay. So now is it happening on your channel or is it happening on his?
It's on Munifest.
Okay.
It's a shared channel. Not that I'm not slowly infecting his channel with my help and collabs and such. And it's also happening on Twitch and on stream.me at the same time on all three.
So well, no, that's for a later conversation, but yeah, that kind of yeah, I'm trying right now to move my stuff over just to save it. But yeah, that split streaming thing is going to be way out of my purview. Wait a minute.
See, there it is. Tyro was there with Shill.
Okay, so
Great.
we got. Okay, good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to right now go ahead and just click on that link. That'll take you over to the channel. You just recently broke 200, right?
Oh yeah, both. So Munifest broke 200. We are about almost 210. Tyro broke 200. The collab video was awesome, and the one before that about Delphine was awesome at that. And my channel has also broken
okay.
200.
Damn it, Tyro! I would think you'd have a watch link up already. You kids today. But yeah, go ahead, click on that, go over there. It's going to start momentarily. And once again, thank you very much, Lo-Fi, for stopping by. Thanks to the audience for spending their valuable time with us. And all I have to say is thanks, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas. And the doctor's office is closed. Good night.